Look at what the world has become. In such a short period of time, we have witnessed society turn into something so unrecognizable. What does this mean? And why is this happening? Well, in order to answer this question of what is happening, we must know where we are. And in order to really know where we are, it's crucial to understand there is no problem here. This is all divinely orchestrated. The problem isn't the government. The problem isn't the people. The problem isn't the culture. The problem isn't the education. The problem isn't religion. The problem isn't the lack of connection with our heritage. The problem isn't race. The problem isn't the economy. The problem isn't tyranny. In fact, there is no real problem. We may think this experience is difficult because one or more elements of this world has been abused, poisoned, or hidden away. We hear things like, if only the elite could stop pulling the strings, things would get better. If only people knew there was a God or Savior, the world would be a greater place. If people would just reconnect with nature, everything would be solved. Or if only we could replace this system with another system, all would be harmonious. But the suffering and confusion in this realm is not the result of scarcity of a particular belief, of knowledge, or of decent societal structure. The pain and conflict in this realm does not stem from an ignorance of some particular truth that could be conveyed to the masses, but rather all of this is the result of a necessary process, a purgatorial process. This is a purgatorial process, and in this video, we shall take another look at the realm we're in. Some call it a flat plane, some call it a prison or a school, but the truth of the matter is, we're in purgatory. Limited mortal logic and reason has attempted to connect various dots to understand reality and its operations, but the truth can only be found in a poetic mindset. Currently in this information age, we're presented with a plethora of informational rabbit holes to get lost in, to explore. But just like Alice, who gets lost in Wonderland, a place which isn't so wonderful after all, we too can become preoccupied and ultimately disoriented by the streams of thought all around us which claim full authenticity and correctness, all while leading us further and further into delusions and illusions. Therefore, we must look behind the veil. Only then can we return to the real world and verify that this experience we are going through is quite simple. It is stranger than fiction and more profound than any popularized spiritual teaching has conveyed. Earth is an anagram, a rearrangement of the word heart. This is because we are in a simulation of consciousness which reflects what is not of the heart. When the heart is forgotten about, it projects a shadow reality meant to facilitate purging. This shadow reality is designed to catch the various purges which result from duality. Duality, in the context I speak of, is the tug of war between two opposites which creates tension. The heart does not know of good versus evil, of heaven versus hell. It only knows a singular beauty, ease, a singular magic. This is paradise, a state of being as much as it is an actual environment. During this purgatorial process, the macrocosmic heart, what we know to be the center or the North Pole, feeds energy into the above and below in order to crash down all tension that the universal mind can come up with within the paradigm of duality. This tension is caught on the magnetic field. We live on a magnetic field. It is a net. The tension that is exhibited on the field, everything from nature's predatory ways to society's endless conflicts and arguments, is the result of tension being caught, trapped on the net of magnetics, in order to purify the universal mind and thus ourselves. What is trapped is designed to be dissolved. True alchemy means going from lead to gold. To dive deeper into the authenticity of our being means we need to release what weighs down the heart by merging the light and dark, becoming gray magicians in the process. The dramas that unfold in this reality are all the result of purging duality. The plus and the minus, the this and the that. This is why a magnetic field has a positive and a negative charge. And what do you know? These opposites attract when it comes to magnets. Paradise is found when these opposites conjoin, as both archetypes contain qualities which, when merged, erect a divinity outside of the bounds of limitation and definition, beyond good and evil, beyond heaven and hell. In fact, this concept of heaven and hell has only been able to sustain itself while we ourselves are split from the heart, separating the oneness into the two. This was exemplified in the movie The Dark Crystal, in which two halves of the same whole finally merge together and become the original divine being. Before they merge together, however, it seems as if they are opposite, as if they are completely distinct in essence, in character, in being. It is the crucial time to understand this truth as our purges accelerate. We can call this the end times or the Great Awakening. It doesn't really matter. It is clear that what's being reflected on the outside is increasingly binary, robotic, lifeless, and out of touch with anything true, eternal, and heartfelt. Time is the great revealer, and as this purgatorial process continues, we are revealed what is and what isn't, what is true and what is false, within our own lives and in the world at large. This is not to say enjoyment evades us in every single moment in such a construct. There is much to experience and praise within this purgatorial system, but always there remains an underbelly of incompleteness, because that is what we are going through. We are wading through the incomplete portions of consciousness that need to be dealt with in order to solidify what is whole once again. The center of this plane is indeed the center of ourselves, Hyperborea, also known as the Garden of Eden, the place of peace, Shambhala, land of the living fire. This space consists of 4 continents and 4 rivers with a central axis. Our own hearts contain 4 valves and 4 chambers. The heart is the emerald ray. Like the aurora, which pours from this space, is primarily emerald green. This is the heart of Tafiti. This is Sleeping Beauty. This is the Emerald City. To access paradise, it is not an act of the will. Purgatory is designed to lead the living souls through our own shadows using real-time, lifelike metaphors and dramas. And like Dante wrote of Mount Purgatorio, the purging process leads inevitably to the earthly paradise. The earthly paradise, or Garden of Eden, sits on top the various levels of purgatory. When the process completes, the heart reopens, paradise reopens. The process of purgatory is a cleansing process, but to cleanse, we must walk through the flames of ourselves. In my video, The Purgatorial Dumping Ground, we spoke of this truth and compared the bird's eye view of purgatory with our own realm. The center of the bullseye is the North Pole, is the heart, is the earthly paradise. I have received many comments like, "I'm sick of this place, let's go north," and "Why can't we buy a boat and find paradise?" We can't do that because the North Pole is not a physical destination. We must think outside of our earthly senses to know what the center is. Hyperborea is found neither by land nor by sea. The external center is simply a placeholder for the inner energies which align to such a paradise. We are in a holographic simulation of consciousness that needs to be journeyed through in order to unload the tension duality brings so the heart can remember its own vitality and magic. This magic, when unlocked only after the purging is over, shall unlock the 0 point in full, transporting all living souls, all eternal consciousness back to the land of eternal twilight, where there is no night or day, where there is no harm, where there is no split between conscious and unconscious, true and false. The universal mind is the name I give to the bank of possibilities which can manifest into experience and into consciousness. Within the universal mind, there are infinite possibilities. But this means there are possibilities of horror and unpleasantries. So how would the universal mind, which we are all connected to, refine itself? How would it do this? Well, it would have to set up a construct, a matrix, which can be utilized to unload some possibilities through playing them out on the world stage and in our own lives and in the personifications of consciousness that we know to be soulless beings or non-player characters. Most beings are not going through this purgatorial process, and that is quite clear. The concept of non-player characters has been co-opted, but my work on this topic has always been pointing to why won't people wake up? People aren't waking up to the truth of their being, of their divinity, because most are personifications of duality consciousness that need to be rendered in order for the universal mind to refine itself. One of the biggest questions when it comes to awakening is, why won't humanity wake up? It's because to wake up, one must be purging. One must be a vehicle for the cleansing of the universal mind. And in order to purge, one must be a living soul or a game player in this construct with an inner space to tap into. Instead of dogma, the living soul's truth is, I am God. Non-player characters are necessary in order to purge. In a dream at night, our mind projects various situations and beings in order to process our psyches. We would never say that the characters in our dreams are eternal or are independent. in awareness, but that doesn't mean they are worthless. Far from it. Without the various personified reflections and projections we experience in this matrix, in the form of human beings, the universal mind would be unable to piece itself together. Just like without the characters in our dreams to guide us and challenge us along the way, the psyche isn't able to effectively process itself. The world is getting more and more Orwellian, tyrannical, and cold, and this is coinciding with very profound realizations of self, which the living souls have been experiencing. The pressure of purgatory is the greatest catalyst for all of our illusion and delusion to be dissolved. It is not easy and oftentimes uncomfortable. When we see the world with all of its incompleteness, we may think, how could something or someone be so heartless, lifeless, manipulative? The answer is, we don't see what we think we see. We see what we are not in this realm. What pains us in this world instills a remembrance of a wholeness that has been forgotten in order to facilitate the purging of this universal mind. The purgatorial process requires that we lose ourselves to our own purges. The various spiritual traditions of this world typically treat suffering as a symptom of an unenlightened being or one who has fallen into sin. But what if the sin or the suffering we experience comes from the shedding of duality, which has been taken on for the sake of reigniting paradise and strengthening the heart? This makes every bit of suffering noble. We must not get lost in surface-level interpretation if we are to see things for what they are. Taking a step back from the noise, from the screams and the shouts, it's clear that the binary consciousness, which has masked itself for so long, is increasingly revealing itself for what it truly is. Remember, time is the great revealer. Medical doctors tend to focus on symptoms and not the root cause of the symptoms. Likewise, we can dupe ourselves into focusing on the results of purging. The universe operates within many paradoxes. It is a paradox that the more confusing the world stage appears, the more lifeless reality gets in its societal manifestations, the more awakened the living soul becomes. An awakening can only take place if one has been sleeping. Our truest selves have remained unseen, but glimpsed as we wander through the mazes of our own minds. The divine creates all scenarios for one reason only: expansion. Expansion remains the purpose of all illusions and all puzzles which this matrix presents, as within, so without. Purgatory offers us the ability to make mistakes. A mistake is a mistake. Take one, take two, take three. It's all good. When we fall and ache and cry and hurt, this exhibits the heart's need to be seen, to be loved, to be known, to be opened. And this power of true love is not simply the cookie-cutter love that's been displayed in movies or in our culture, which still relies on the dualities of this and that, but rather true love is a force so expansive, so strong and vital, so magical that it obliterates what is false and nurtures what was always true, untainted, and eternal. Thank you for watching. Keep up the great work.
eyes closed, stretching at the exposed, behind the marble of the moon's eyes. Caterpillar crawl cry, Sophia whispers in the darkness, melt away the heartless, beneath the pool of the AI, in front of Borealis starshine. So you think you're a tough guy, maybe that's a misapply. So keep it cool, keep it purified, get to the center of the bullseye. Sophia whispers in the darkness, melt away the heartless. So keep it cool, eyes on the prize, center of the bullseye. 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 Center of the bullseye.
A chicken jolly chew at your pad, slices in and give me more of that.
I'm taking Tolly like a litter log, the birds are calling me to sing along.
A chicken jolly with your eyes closed,
Stretching at the exposed, behind the marble of the moon's eyes. Caterpillar crawl cries, so you think you're a tough guy, maybe that's a misapply. So keep it cool, keep it purified, get to the center of the bullseye. Sophia whispers in the darkness, melt away the heartless. So keep it cool, eyes on the prize, center of the bullseye. Center of the bullseye.
that love in the shade. Baby looking so fine, holiday. Leather nectar of